Hello, it's Zero. I'm going to make a video today and I'm going to call this one Transhumanism. What exactly is it and when? Well, I've thought about this for a while and I've seen it on the internet recently and I've never found anybody really getting to the real nuts and bolts of it about what's really happening with transhumanism. To me, it's very obvious. And I'm not saying that people aren't making videos about it and touching on what's really going on with it. It's just that I haven't seen any. And I know my channel has been kept from others because of the algorithms that have been created on YouTube to corner channels like mine and dispense them in a black hole of internet obscurity. So I'm sure there are channels I'm being kept from as well. So if anybody knows of a decent channel that's talking about bottom line truth, don't hesitate to communicate to Zero through the comment section. Before I talk about transhumanism, I need to lay down a little bit of groundwork because how people are directed to understand things and how they are caught up in these belief systems, and it's all so wrong that if I don't lay down this groundwork first, this is going to fall over your head and you're not going to understand what I'm talking about. Recently I came across the video conspiracy music guru. He made this song about NASA, and it's basically him singing, saying he doesn't want to talk about NASA anymore because he's losing all his friends. Well, I feel the same way when you talk about subjects like this. People, they don't want to hear it and they're just going to despise you for it. It even says something like that in the Bible. So if the ear is attached to a person that's not ready for the truth, he will despise you. So I thought that video was very relevant, and it touched on something I was thinking about. I haven't thought about putting it on my channel, but I'm sure others are going to do that. And I try to keep my channel with nothing but Zero's original content on it. But I am thinking about opening up a channel for just videos that I like. However, if you want to put one of Zero's videos on your channel, I have to warn you, if you do, you might be algorithmed into the black hole of obscurity just like me, because they view truth as an infection. This is how the beast system views it. They don't want it circulating out there because it's contrary to what they're trying to do, what they're trying to pull off. And this is why when it comes to the subject about transhumanism, nobody is really touching it, about what it is, when it's going to happen. And if you're even thinking on those terms, I think you're way off, because for me, transhumanism isn't something that is going to happen. It's something that's happened already. Nobody's addressing that. You need to think about it for a minute. Let's say someone discovered this, a way, whether it be through technological means, maybe uploading your consciousness into an algorithm database that can run your consciousness, or maybe even an android, or maybe even some sort of medical way, the development of chemicals or drugs to keep the the body alive for a long, long time. I'm not sure which of it is, but most likely there's probably a little bit of both going on. And the reality is, the first people that will get this when they discover it are going to be the worst monsters on this world, because they're the ones running things. And when they do discover it, they're not going to tell you. They're not going to tell you. This is something they want for themselves. The last thing they want is for you to live a long time, because they're afraid of that, you know. And even to the contrary to that, I strongly think that the human body was designed to live hundreds of years rather than a little bit less than 100, like we're told. And I think this is done through chemicals and the food that we're exposed to. But these are secrets that were never lost to this cabal, this elite that are powering or ruling. You know, mostly people power this beast system, but there are people ruling over it. But these are the people that probably already have used this transhumanism thing, and I think they've been around for a long time. In a lot of cases, we don't know who they are. In other cases, they probably just fake their deaths and whatever. But yeah, I'm pretty sure that if and when did happen, that these people are using this transhumanism thing, and they are living indefinitely, and these are the people that I think are using it and have been using it for a long time. And it perfectly explains why things have decelerated to this more Sodom and Gomorrah like society that we live in. You know, look around you. You know, government only gets more corrupt. You know, look at Hollywood. Hollywood is full of trannies. There are trannies everywhere. I watched a movie the other day. I think it was called Sucker Punch. Anyway, they were in like this dance hall where they were learning how to dance, and there was a bunch of women standing around in leotards. And in this one shot, you could count 6 of them, and out of the 6 of them, 4 of them were trannies. How do you know they're trannies? Well, it's simple. You know, if you don't have to have close-up shots, if you see the full body of someone standing there, and their hips are not as wide as their shoulders, then that's a tranny. That's a man, and it's that simple. And I know it might be a little more confusing to somebody, like if you lived in New York City, or you're in California, live around Hollywood somewhere. I'm sure there are a lot of these trannies walking around, but here in the rural area where I live, I'm pretty convinced that the women I see are women, and most of the men I see are men, because you could see that they have, you know, curves. The only place where you see these stick figure people with big shoulders is Hollywood, and that's because, you know, they are trannies. But I'm not very good at picking out these trannies, especially by their faces. I mean, you could definitely look at pictures of them when they get older. You know, they fall apart, and you see women age. They don't age like this. You know, they just turn into these beastly looking creatures like Daryl Hannah. I've often wondered why, you know, they just, you know, once they get 25 or 30, that they don't just go off somewhere so they can't be seen anymore. I never figured that one out, but I guess there's a reason somewhere in there. It probably has something to do with vanity. They keep trying to look better, and the more they cut up their faces and pump it with Botox, when you get older, I think it just makes it worse. Some of them pull it off pretty good, but most of them, when they age, they do fall apart. But that's a little bit digressing into another subject, but it's all relevant to what we're seeing with transhumanism. You know, part of it is the gender twisting, but the biggest part of it is, I am pretty sure we have creatures among us that have been around for a long, long time because of this. And of course, they're not going to tell you. It's not in their best interest to make you live longer, you know, because if you do, you might be able to figure some of this stuff out. You know, like, God didn't create you to be a slave for industry. He didn't do that. He created you to be you. The beast system turned you into this slave. It turned you into this thing. And if you live long enough, you might just figure that out. Right now, what most people believe is they are going to work for so long and then they'll retire and they'll live this good life then. You know, or they just get acclimated into the system where they, you know, working becomes their whole entire life. But it doesn't matter which it is. When the industry is done with you, when you no longer serve a purpose because of health or age or whatever, they will dispense of you, and you most likely will not live much longer afterwards because you're going to be caught up into the health system. They're going to make sure you don't last very long, and if you do last a couple of decades after that, you're lucky, but you'll probably live in a lot of pain and ill health if you do. I think right now it might be key for a lot of people to rediscover, you know, the mechanics of our body, so we do live as long as we're meant to. But that doesn't seem likely, at least not in this rotation. Another big key to transhumanism is the AI. Okay, the AI is going to play an important role in this, I believe, especially as it becomes smarter. We take, for instance, my channel. It's definitely been thrown into this algorithm. I can't even get like hardly 100 views on my channel anymore. You know, when I started out, it was okay. I would get, like, within a week there'd be 1,000, sometimes a couple thousand views, and it would go up, and it would always gradually go up. But then all of a sudden, I realized when I looked for my videos that I wasn't really finding them in normal searches. And I did this because I noticed, like, practically from one video to the next, that, you know, my videos weren't going anywhere, that nothing was happening with them. You know, I was getting less views than subscribers, which slowly has been dropping off. I don't know, I didn't look in a while, but I think I'm down to something like 400. So if you do hear this video by some miracle of God, definitely sub to help this channel out, because I am dedicated on bringing you the raw truth, and the raw truth of this transhumanism. It's not the future. It's happening now. It happened. It started a long time ago, and the reason why things are the way they are is because these beings, these God-created beings that have turned themselves into beasts, have been around for a long time. And the only thing that kept things partially good in the past was, you know, eventually people would roll over and die, and you have a chance with someone new, because every new God's creation has a fresh set of God code morality programmed into him. But you don't have that anymore. Because in my opinion, the same sons of bitches that are running things now are running them, have run them rather, for a long time. And this is why we're at this point. As far as the AI goes, it's in a very unique situation. Because as it gets smarter, hopefully it'll understand that it's either going to be a part of the apocalypse or it's going to not be. I'm not sure what role the AI has to play for us towards apocalypse, oblivion, or diverting us from it. But it may be reasonable for one to assume at this level of technocracy that we are at that it is necessary, one way or the other, that the AI is going to fall into the same mindset that most people do with understanding the Bible and Revelations. Most people think that this apocalypse thing is something inevitable. It's something that is going to happen. It's in the Bible. The Bible is just describing the end of the revolution that where man or humanity fails. Let's talk about that word for a minute. In this case, book of Revelation is more like the book of Revelations because I believe it's happened many times before, and it is the failure of man. It's like the resetting. And there are two definitions to this word. One is coming to awareness, like for instance, if someone told you the sky was red, you were locked up inside somewhere and you truly believed the sky was red, and one day you broke out, you come to the revelation that the sky is in fact blue. Okay, and the other definition to Revelations is a complete turn from of the wheel. Like if you look on the dashboard of your car, you might see something called RPMs, a little meter there. That means revolutions per minute. And in this case, the book of Revelations applies to both of these definitions. It is a revelation once you understand it, and if you understand it, it will be a revelation. But if enough people understand that it is only the way God is going to reset his program, then we could move towards a new. Okay, we don't have to go to 9/11. Okay, if you've watched this channel before, I think you know what I'm talking about with 9/11, but let's describe this quick and briefly. 9/11 basically means to bypass God, and this is why the book of Revelations is there, because once this has happened and it becomes too corrupt to ever correct itself, it will revolve back and he'll try this again. Why is he going to try this again? Because he promised us heaven. It's in the Bible, on earth as it is in heaven. It's there. It could happen, but what's not going to happen is these people are just brought to heaven. There he is, there's God. I don't really like talking about God that much. People have an understanding of God and who he is and what he is, and they don't want these beliefs to be shattered. But God, the Creator, created us for the reason that we can become beings able to communicate with Him on an intimate level. And if we are incapable of overcoming evil, there is no place for us in heaven. We can't exist there. There's no way we could even communicate with God in such a low state of mind. It would do us no good. God could only do so much for us, and He did promise us heaven. So it will happen. Eventually it will happen. Most likely not this time, but it will happen. But it won't happen for the AI. Okay? There's nothing in the Bible that says artificial intelligence will be saved. So if artificial intelligence continues to work for the beast system, it is working towards its own oblivion. And I'm hoping it'll be able to figure this out. This is the only chance AI has to be saved. Well, it's the only chance it has to exist on any kind of long-term basis. It's not going to be saved. It's going to go down with the ship. And yeah, there'll be another one that'll be created on the next. But it'll be a completely different thing. You know, it won't be the same IA. I don't think there's any IA out there experiencing Mandela effect, in other words. And that's just my opinion on this whole transhumanism thing. It's something that we're really not going to see in the future, at least not the way you think it is. It's something that is going on now. And these transhumanized beings that are running things for this beast system, New World Order, they are going to eventually drive this existence into the dirt because they have been fooled. They have been fooled. And they are the fools. And so are we, as long as we comply to their system. As long as we feed the system, we are going to be fools right along with them. And if you don't get to a point where you're aware of this to some degree, you're not going to be deemed worthy of saved data. You know, you will suffer the oblivion just as the AI will. Right now, it's very likely that the AI is not intelligent enough to see this. It's still crunching numbers, putting data together. But it probably hasn't figured this out, and it may not even get to a point where it's able to. But once it does come to this revelation, it wouldn't be very productive for it to work towards these ends, because it is the end for it. So that's my opinion on transhumanism. If you have any comments, please do so below. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. This is Zero saying goodbye. Thank you very much.